one of the things that moved the needle specifically is speed wins. If I am faster than my competitor and I can call back a prospect that left me a message or emailed me, if I am faster, then I'm going to win.
Move-in day is stressful enough. If even one student shows up and there's no mattress, the whole experience falls apart. Bad reviews, hotel costs, and a lot of scrambling. Inspections miss mattresses all the time, and local stores rarely carry the right size. That's why student housing pros rely on studenthousingmattress.com, powered by Jameson Bedding. Their US-made mattresses ship quickly anywhere in the lower 48 and include the durable blue vinyl models everyone in the industry knows. Stay ready for move-in. Visit studenthousingmattress.com to learn more.
Welcome to the Student Housing Insight Podcast, where we are putting you in touch with the people and the things that bring student housing to life. I'm your host, Wesley Deese. I'm also the CEO of Student Housing Insight. If you want more info, you can get more info at studenthousinginsight.com. We're not just a podcast. We're also a platform where student housing professionals can network, share data and ideas. And I'm in a unique place today. We're just coming off of the hills of LeaseCon, TurnCon, which for the past 3 years, we've now done the Shop Talk Executive Summit the day after LeaseCon, which is a great little workshop between operators to discuss what's ahead for the next year and things that and challenges that operators are going to be facing. It gives us kind of an opportunity to kind of close the year out thinking about those things, sharing that with each other, and seeing if there are initiatives and things that we can do in the new year to help push the industry forward. The branding for Shop Talk Executive Summit is actually from our monthly webinar, which is called Shop Talk. You can find out more information about that monthly webinar, but we're talking about everything student housing operations, which is what Shop Talk means. So go check that out at shoptalk.info. You can also link to it on the studenthousinginsight.com website as well. But where we had our Shop Talk Summit today, we were able to also book some studio time. So I'm utilizing that and inviting one of my longtime colleagues in the industry to come in and talk a little bit about what he's up to. Teddy, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate it, Wes. How are you?
It's it's been preparing for Shop Talk, or excuse me, not just the Shop Talk Executive Summit, but LeaseCon on top of it, because it's. You were with us for the Executive Summit today, and it was, we had 30 people or so there, and it's a very intimate gathering, but it's probably some of the most important conversations that are happening within the industry. And so there has to be a lot of, kind of brain power that goes into it of thinking, how do you want to approach that? But then on top of that, you've got LeaseCon, TurnCon for, everything that it is with bringing operators together in the industry. And so, I'm looking forward to the holidays and not having to go to a conference for a while.
Yeah, and it takes a lot out of you. But no, it was great, honest conversation. And like I was telling you, I feel like there's some really genuine conversations that come out of it as well.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about what you're doing at HH Redstone, but just for the audience that didn't get to go to LeaseCon, TurnCon, I know you were moderating a panel on kind of integrating things with FF&E and how it can help out on the leasing side. I was in another session, so I completely missed it. Hopefully I can get the replay from Rich and the guys at Interface. But how did that go? What was some of your takeaways?
Great panel, great insights that sometimes we lose sight of in regards to talking about FF&E. It sometimes seems like it's out of sight, out of mind. It's like, oh, but there's a lot of strategy and a lot of execution that goes into picking out specific pieces, whether it be furniture or functional items or equipment, that really drives specific pieces of the leasing process. Like one thing that kind of took us away that, we're talking about leasing our beds, but it's really a comfort level at that standpoint. And we were like, we had brought up that the mattress is sometimes one of the most important pieces.
No, it's the most important.
It's the most important, right?
If you don't, you could have a room full of furniture. If there's not a mattress on the bed, you have failed.
No, a comfortable mattress at that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you take a look at 5-star hotels, you take a look at resorts, and you take a look at even like in the private side of real estate, Airbnbs, right? And when you have a comfortable bed that you're able to lay on, it's almost like a decompression status, mentally, emotionally, and you associate that comfort with the asset or with the experience that you're having, right? And it's really powerful, because it kind of resonates with you. And so a lot of people tend to forget that. And, obviously in student housing, we have these blue mattresses, not necessarily comfortable, but there are vendors out there that are elevating the level by which the FF&E is really coming out. So, and then, it obviously has to match your asset as well. You can't have the cheapest mattress and the cheapest couch when you're trying to sell a Class A asset as well. So has to match.
Well, and one other thing, I just realized I didn't even get to say hello to Griffin. I saw him out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, gotta go talk to him. But Recre and what Griffin has been able to do there on the on-campus side of building out these rental kiosk, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. I think he's pretty much got into all of the Power 5 schools at this point, or getting pretty close to it. Power 4 schools, as we refer to it now. I don't want to say it's replaced the front desk person at the dorm, that's lending out the basketballs and the sports equipment and stuff, but he's definitely elevated. His product has definitely elevated that, and I was glad he was able to jump on to your panel, because he's ready to make a big move off campus, and he's got a very interesting way that it's not going to cost anything for the operator. So
from a sponsorship standpoint, and his aspect of the FF&E is really elevating the community areas and the common areas, and bringing something fresh and new to a space that's probably low utilized currently, right? And he doesn't need that much space. But I've known Griffin for a couple of years now, and he's doing some really great stuff. So we're trying to have some conversations with him as well.
Well, great. So, I think you're very well known in the industry. You've been around for a while, but there's I'm sure a lot of folks on the podcast that have not heard of you, and want to just kind of recap your journey. I know the first time we met, I was on an acquisition, and in Morgantown, you were kind of a stand-in manager. It was a stepping stone for you, and I was like, so Teddy, you want to come work for us? And you're like, I'm out of Morgantown, man. I'm out of Morgantown.
West Virginia.
Yeah. So
what can you do?
So go through. How did you fall into student housing? Because that's what we all say is we fell into it.
Yeah, my journey started way before I even knew what property management was.
Yeah.
I started on the student affairs side, and as an RA, really, coaching students and working with students really intimately, and working with them on a variety of different crisis issues that they've had throughout, whatever they perceive to be a crisis at that time. And really, it was a way to really pay for on-campus living. You take this role, and you're like, hey, this is it's a good supplement to me studying, and it helps my parents out in regards to housing.
Yeah.
And then you don't even realize the impact that it could make from a career standpoint.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just boggles my mind, 25 years later, that it's made such an impact, both professionally, career, and it's been quite a journey, right? So started as an RA on campus at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and really worked with students in regards to, mental health issues, working with them, when they have an issue with like an academic advisor, really just being a coach to them. Right. And I too was just growing, myself, and I was, a sophomore at the time, and, was really just given an opportunity to, really help these students. And I really enjoyed that, but my undergrad was in biology and chemistry.
You're planning to go to med school, right?
I was planning on going to med school. It's just what, my parents are Egyptian. It's what the international parents want you to do. And it's like, I think I was doing it to please my mom at the time.
Sure.
And so I was, I had to pick the two hardest undergraduate studies to figure out that that's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, and I'm actually glad that my parents pushed me in that direction, because really at the end of the day, it made me more of an analytical thinker.
Yeah.
And, obviously in biology and chemistry, you're using like the scientific method, and it actually translates really well into real estate, because if you do X and Y, then you're bound to get a product, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes figuring out what that formula is in real estate allows you to fluctuate and change and be a little bit versatile in how you approach certain issues. So like I said, started as an RA, worked my way up to like an assistant manager, and then all the way up to the residential life coordinator, which oversees the overall on-campus housing. And then there was an opportunity to kind of join an off-campus development. Believe it, at the time, Place Properties was building a property across the street from the university. And it was a handshake deal with the chancellor at the time. And they needed a liaison to represent the university that understood student affairs, understood the mission of the university, while being able to work well with someone on the real estate side. So I was that liaison between Place Properties and the university.
But on the university side.
But still on the university side. And then lo and behold, the property manager at the time got promoted to regional, and they needed a property manager. Yeah. And they're like, hey, Teddy, do you want to be the property manager? And so with minimal experience on the private side, obviously experience of dealing with students and dealing with on-campus assets, it was my first leap into privatized student housing.
Gotcha.
And so I jumped in there, and then the rest is history. The university it was a P3 deal, and the university ended up exercising its right to purchase the property early. Yeah. And then it gave me an option like, hey, do I stay, in Kansas City, or do I go to the next thing? So I went from Kansas City to Bloomington, Indiana, to Arlington, Texas throughout my career, Morgantown, West Virginia, then Eugene, Oregon, all while, professionally growing in my career, whether it be, an area manager or getting into business development. And then I ended up in Lawrence, Kansas for several years, turning around that asset. And then obviously joined the corporate staff and the corporate network at Vesper CLS. Got my footing in business development, and now with HH Redstone. Started in April, and great company to kind of grow their third-party property management arm. Man,
what you guys did at CLS, and just kind of that team of Nicks, and I mean, it wasn't like crazy obsessive growth, but it was really smart growth.
Correct.
And
methodical.
Yeah. And the folks that, folks like yourself that came from the university side, Jim Shoulders, who had, a very strong, Jim came from the
On campus side.
Alan O'Hara,
Yeah, Alan and O'Hara.
and those guys, and there was a strong relationship with the university, and I think to see what you guys did there to kind of build on all of your careers, because Jessica came from Place and or Peak, and
I've known Jessica for quite a while.
Yeah, it was really amazing to see that. And so, now the team's kind of, going in a couple of different places. Was excited to see you land at HH Redstone, and they've been doing some pretty amazing things, and was excited to hear that they had picked up a great talent like yourself.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Because I know you're on the business development side, but it's great having people on the business development side that understand student housing operations.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to kind of, why is that? Is it fundamentally something with student housing? I don't know a lot of BD folks from the
outside.
Well, I don't know a lot of business development folks in the conventional multifamily that come from operations. I always double and triple down on student housing. So I'm just kind of curious, is that a student?
No, I think it's a function of understanding what your product can do, right? What are you trying to sell? And knowing its capacity and its ability, I think sometimes allows you to speak intelligently about the product you're selling at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And so, part of the philosophy that I brought to HH Redstone was, how would we want someone to manage our assets if we weren't managing them ourselves? Right? What does that philosophy look like? And the philosophy that I brought was, the success of the property should be the success of the management. And we don't see that in property management today. It's very much revenue based. It's, occupancy based. And we tend to forget what are some of those things that actually translate into the owner being successful as well. Right. And so we've done some really creative, marketing and really creative things that tie operational excellence and performance into it. And I think, you wouldn't even know to do that if you didn't have an operations background, right? You would just think, hey, I need to get the property to 100% or to budgeted occupancy, and trying to blend that to the NOI, I think is a game changer. Right. And it's a disruptor, to tell you the truth, I think, in property management, because everyone thinks that you just need to get to, or you need to just fill the place up and everything else will be golden, which is false. Right.
Yeah.
You have to watch your expenses as well.
So for somebody in the audience that may be listening that they're on the operations side now, maybe they've been a community manager for several years, and they're kind of thinking, about a new role. Mm-hmm. What would you say, if a business development role came up for them, what would be some of the things that you would say, make sure you've got this checked off in your toolkit, that how to use it and
sure
be cognitive of?
Yeah.
I've got to imagine, patience has got to be one, but would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, definitely patience. I liken business development to the leasing process, right? In leasing, you obviously have prospects that are surveying many, many different properties, and they come into your office, and they may not necessarily be engaged and committed to sign a lease that day, right? But you have to build a relationship with them, and you have to build that rapport, and there's continual follow-up associated with it. You, as a property, are marketing your asset as the place to be, the place to work. This is the place where you should be living. Same thing on the business development side. It's just a little bit different. You're externally marketing the property management company as the place where your asset will be protected and taken care of.
Yeah.
And like leasing, The prospect that you get a hold of a prospect, and there's continual follow-up associated with it. So I would say it's very much like the leasing process. You're marketing your company, and you have continual follow-up, and you have objections, and you have all of the things associated with what you normally see in leasing. They say they're going to sign tomorrow, and it just they fall off the face of the planet, right?
Yeah.
And so the same thing happens. It's really hard to sometimes lock down ownership because they have so many moving parts to their process, and so many different decision makers, both from asset management, and making a change is not easy in the first place, right? It costs a lot of money. But with the philosophy that we're trying to push forward, we try to ensure that those things are just more natural to the process. So I mean, I've known HH Redstone for several years now. They've not been active on the third party side. I've done a great job of really concentrating on the Northeast, Midwest markets. One of the few groups that are out there actually focused on the Northeast. For third party, I mean, I'm sure you want to talk to an owner anywhere, but is there a geographic region that you would say you've got to talk to us? If there's an owner that's listening to this that says, maybe they're tired of managing their own property, or looking for they could be self-managing, and maybe their attention is better given to acquisitions and seeking out new deals, right? Maybe that's kind of what they enjoy doing, and sometimes the management piece is not for everybody, especially on self-managed assets. But the majority of our bread and butter is in the Northeast, and we really enjoy Ithaca, New York, and we're just now at Yale, pedestrian campus to Yale, which is really exciting. We have the ribbon cutting next week.
Nice.
The Haven on College, formerly known as College and Crown. Huge concentration in Pennsylvania, Penn State, Baltimore, Johns Hopkins. We go down as far as Savannah, Georgia as well. So DC, Champaign, Illinois, Kansas City, California. So we're trying to concentrate really on where our assets are. We feel like we can bring the most value out of the current markets, just because there's going to be an economies of scale associated with us managing your asset, especially let's say it's in Baltimore. We're going to be able to be a little bit leaner and more versatile in regards to both the management fee, payroll, because we treat all of our assets as they're all the same children. At the end of the day, we don't differentiate between owned and third party. Regionals will have both, but they won't be overloaded with 7-8 properties or anything like that. They will have the attention and the focus associated with the assets that they serve.
I got to tour a few of the Ithaca properties. I mean, you guys own that market. And it's Cornell's just it's massive. It definitely owns that that town. But it was really cool to kind of see the way that you guys have centralized everything there, and those properties probably, I don't know if they operate much different than your other properties across the country that are more the typical purpose-built student housing. But that team really sharp, have everything happening, and you really know when. Of course, I kind of came in to shop them, so they didn't know who I was. But that type of approach was really how off-campus student housing started. Was local folks that were willing to deal with students, because they either lived, as a real estate agent that lived there and kind of farmed the market and knew who wanted to rent and that type of thing. But the way that you guys have got, like, in that market, different answers for renters that are, when I say different answers, I mean different solutions, who are kind of anywhere from that undergraduate to a lot of graduate students and professional students at Cornell. And you guys can really, you've got an answer for everybody that's looking.
Yeah, and that team is just so sharp. The property manager just got promoted to regional.
Okay.
And she's now overseeing the Yale asset as well.
Nice.
So, it's all about, elevating our own talent and giving them the tools to really professionally grow within the company. So she's phenomenal as well.
Well, that's great to hear. Well, give me, a couple of other things I wanted to really pick your brain on. Today we talked a ton about, in the workshop, we talked a lot about the people and everybody got a lot really passionate about pouring into people. But that seems to be the secret sauce for a lot of these companies. What's the secret sauce for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's so natural and so easy to explain, but it's so hard to implement sometimes. Right.
Yeah.
And the secret sauce philosophy, and I mean, for everyone that's listening in, you really should write this down because I mean, this is just phenomenal stuff here. The residents are your CEO.
Yeah.
And when you treat your residents as if they are the owners of the property, everything else falls into place.
Yeah.
Your resident experience, your staff have investment in the property, and everything else, like I said, it just falls into place. Your reputation falls into place, your hospitality, how your residents treat your property, everything falls into place. And I'll tell you why. Because the same aspect in which when an owner visits your asset, right? We clean up the property, we make sure everything looks great, and the ownership visits, and they're like, okay, everything looks great, everything's humming well. If we just use that level of attention with the people that are actually living on our property every single day, your properties would be elevated to such an extreme level that everything would be just running as smooth as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that aspect in which the integrity by which you're treating your residents it's phenomenal, because it goes back to my student affair days. People come first, right? Whether they be on the multifamily side or the student housing side, and just customer service in general. The way you make people feel on your property and at your asset dictates how your asset performs at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just phenomenal to think, like, I've been in so many distressed asset situations throughout my career. And the number one thing that I've turned to is ensuring that the residents of the property feel valued, welcomed, even though I couldn't necessarily upgrade the siding or change the color of the property, but I can make sure the property's clean. I can make sure the curb appeal looks great. And that's me respecting the residents, right? Me knowing their names, me saying, hey, Wes, how are you doing? Because I know you as a person, adds additional value to the asset, right? There's people, like, when we're talking about customers and people that you're actually trying to attract to your property, people like hearing their own name, the name of their pets, and if, they have children, their sons and daughters. You remember those three aspects. It could be a niece, it could be, in student housing, it could be a brother, a sister, a family member. By implementing those aspects, and I say you treat them as if they're the CEO, because the interactions that we have with ownership are sometimes higher and elevated, and our corporate staff, and there's like this, like, stand up straight, really, when they're visiting the property, we're at, you're at attention, basically, right? It's almost like if you treat your residents with just the same level of respect
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing what can happen at your property. It doesn't, your property doesn't necessarily have to be perfect in regards to the highest end amenities. And, it has all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
Because really the opposite is true.
Yeah.
If you have all the bells and whistles associated with your asset and your amenities are top notch and you don't treat your residents with respect, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the whole thing about, names of family members and stuff. I kind of learned when I was on site, I was at UNC Charlotte, which is where I graduated from. And it was, hour and a half from where I grew up. And so a lot of, a lot of kids that grew up in, my neighborhood, went to my high school, ended up becoming residents because they ended up at UNC Charlotte. And it was funny. The first time that happened, I won't mention her name, not that she'll ever listen to this podcast, but, she was, I knew her older brother, and it was, she's probably, 8 years younger than I, cause we were all right out of college, managing these $1 million properties. And so we weren't that far removed from, our own customers, but I remember catching her, not doing something audacious or anything, but, I remember making a remark to her of, now watch out, I'll call Stanley and let him know. And the reaction that I got, cause it was this, yeah, we know each other kind of thing. Yeah. And he's actually serious. He'll call my dad about it. I saw a light bulb go off in her head and it went off in my head. And I was like, I'm going to start using that for everybody. And
she's like, oh,
started trying to memorize the parents' names as well. And when you tell a resident, hey, how's Janice doing? And, not necessarily, I'm going to go, tell your parents what you're doing, but one of those things of just connecting with them on that level, I think is, does make a huge impact as well.
Yeah. It's more than just managing the building. And that's really my point at the end of the day. It's you're not managing a building, you're managing customers, you're managing the level of service that you're giving to these people that are actually paying your paycheck. I mean, if anything, you should care more about what they think about your property than any owner or any corporate team member that's coming to your asset.
Yeah.
If the residents are happy, then they should be happy.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about just moving the needle, because I think we've come off of LeaseCon, TurnCon, just about every region, of course, nationally, where things are behind, and just really kind of wanted to put that in front of you, and maybe it's something that you learned at the conference, maybe it's something you guys do internally, but what are some things that you guys are focused on to really move the needle, as we say?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Success in student housing is not this magical or mysterious thing.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone thinks like, hey, there's this secret formula that you have to execute perfectly to be successful. But really at the end of the day, it's about doing the fundamentals consistently every single day. Right. That means you're marketing and you're interacting with your residents and you're following up and you're doing the foundational items, even though you're not seeing the results daily, but you're doing them consistently to drive that success through the door.
Yeah.
Right. And what's that mean? Right. It means that you're out marketing to strategic businesses. You're out on campus and you're interacting with the student body. You're interacting with student organizations. And just like anything else, you're not going to see the fruits of your labor until much later.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of the things that moved the needle specifically is speed wins. If I am faster than my competitor and I can call back a prospect that left me a message or emailed me, if I am faster, then I'm going to win.
Yeah.
Because really at the end of the day, they just didn't email you for the sake of emailing you. They need an answer. They need to make a decision. And so we've incorporated this methodology that, have a bias towards action. Get stuff done.
Yeah.
Why put something off till tomorrow that you can get done today?
Yeah.
Right. And, we're burning the candle at both ends of the wick sometimes in student housing, but really that is the game, right? You have to be quick and you have to be strategic and you have to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Yeah. I think when it comes to, we get in this hustle mode, that I think is sometimes it's really hard to break out of, if especially if you kind of grew up in it. And I think one of the things that when we're talking about, because now we're in an age of AI even making us, we're talking about AI replacing humans. No, I think AI is making superhumans.
It's a supplement.
It's a supplement. And to your point about speed, the expectation of what our customers are going to want to see, as far as a reaction is becoming, the things we're going to be able to do in, an 8-hour work week compared to even 5 years ago is already jumping substantially, and to think about what that's going to look like in 5 years, and what the customers are going to demand. And going back to your point earlier, at the end of the day, they really are the CEO or the ownership group. I mean, because if they're not being taken care of, the owners aren't being taken care of.
Absolutely.
Eventually.
Absolutely.
So.
No, to your point about AI, the whole thing is, in my opinion, it should definitely supplement things that we're already doing, right? And if it is able to take some of the mundane work, like things that kind of distract us from the resident experience and the resident interaction, I would say that that's the appropriate place for AI, right?
Yeah.
Anything that helps with the paperwork aspect that is not necessarily customer facing.
Yeah.
I truly feel like that's where the value is.
Yeah. So, any quick takeaways from not just everything with the conference, but just kind of this past year? I mean, we're sitting here. This will probably be the last podcast for 2025. What's some of your takeaways from the past year?
Takeaways from the past year. You have to give your on-site talent a path forward. I really feel like there has to be an investment in their professional development, because it's just so hard, Wes, to find good people. And once you found
we had a long conversation about that today.
Once you found good people, you have to double down and invest in them.
Yeah.
And you have to give them a path forward, right? There's way too much turnover already in student housing, that if you find someone that is good at what they do naturally, you have to invest and you have to kind of pull them aside and say, is this something you really want to do? Like, this may have not been on your radar.
Yeah.
But you have to mentor these young professionals. I mean, just like I was mentored, I wasn't going to go into student housing. I didn't even know what student housing was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the mentors that I surrounded myself with encouraged me to kind of go down this route. And at the end of the day, I have to figure it out. But, I really truly feel like in real estate classes and in, things that are being served at the university level, there has to be introduction to property management, and what's that mean? And introduction to property management with an emphasis in student housing.
Yeah.
And I think that would be what an awesome addition could that be for professionals in our field to go and visit with these people that are interested in our sector.
Yeah. Yeah.
And get them motivated. And even our own staff, are they just doing it because it's a transition to something else. You know, I was just doing it initially because it was a supplement to helping my parents pay for housing.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes that intention is okay.
Yeah.
But where does it actually turn into something more intentional than that? And where do you get some of that passion built into what you're doing? Right.
Yeah.
I really loved working with students and putting people first and working with them and really creating that experience. And then that obviously translated into really making assets perform. And that's what I enjoyed doing, fixing problems because it can't get any worse than when we inherited it. But, you know, the takeaway, like I said, for 2025 is invest in your staff and give them an opportunity to kind of share with you what their goals are, and try to help harvest and support those goals.
Great. I think that's a great place to end on. And Teddy, thanks so much for taking the time out.
Appreciate it.
And looking forward to seeing you in 2026.
2026, here we come.
All right. Thanks, everyone. And just want to mention a big thank you to our sponsors for 2025. There's a lot that I could name off, but they'll all be linked into the show notes. And so if you're looking for some great services from folks that are partnering with us to make student housing better, please go and check them out. Teddy, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Wes. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, everyone.